Friends with benefit situations and situationships in general almost always involve a partner that is avoidant, especially dismissive avoidant or a fearful avoidant that leans dismissive. This is because avoidants fear commitment, and the reason they fear commitment is because they associate it with abandonment. If you commit to somebody, they reject you, abandon you. This goes back to their childhood when they were emotionally neglected by their parents or caretakers. So they learn that the people you're supposed to rely on for your emotional needs will reject you and abandon you. And with a commitment label is the implication that they have to be vulnerable. They have to be emotionally available for this person. And they learn that closeness equals rejection and abandonment. So when a partner pushes for a label on the relationship, it triggers the avoidant fears. When they're in a situationship with you or friends with benefits, they're getting the access to the benefits of you without the fear of losing you. They get the validation, they get the attention from you, they get the dopamine rush, the infatuation, without having to let it get to a deeper level connection, because that deeper level connection, that closeness, triggers their fears. And with a commitment label, there is implied closeness. This fear especially applies when they have a partner that is emotionally available, a partner that is vulnerable with them, because there's an unspoken pressure for the avoidant to be available and vulnerable in return for the emotionally available, loving partner. However, the caveat is the avoidant will not fear commitment labels with a partner that is emotionally unavailable. If their partner is another avoidant or a toxic partner that's walled off, these fears won't get triggered because this person is not emotionally available or vulnerable for the avoidant, so there's no pressure to be emotionally available and vulnerable for that person in return. That relationship feels safe. So the commitment labels are not that scary with a person like that. If you're in a situationship or a friends with benefits situation with an avoidant and you really want it to be a real relationship with a commitment label, it's an opportunity to hold a boundary. Boundaries being your limits of what you will and will not tolerate, what you want and don't want, what you need and don't need. You can kindly assert to the avoidant and say, listen, I'm looking for a committed relationship. This is what I need. If you're not willing to meet that, okay, that's your decision, but it's not going to work for me. When you allow a situationship to go on and on without a label, what you're doing is you're telling yourself that your own wants, needs, and feelings don't really matter. That you cannot rely on yourself to stand up for your emotional wants and needs. And that pushes you further into anxiousness, further into insecurity when you allow that to continue when it's not something that you want. When you do enforce a boundary and you do hold to what you want, you're sending yourself a profound message. You're sending yourself the message that you can rely on yourself for your emotional needs, that you do have your own back, and it helps you feel more secure and confident. Ultimately, you are not responsible for fixing the avoidant. You're not responsible for making them become emotionally available. They are responsible for their own healing. And you can't rescue them. They have to want it themselves. They can do it, but they have to want it. So if your emotional needs are getting neglected and you're in a prolonged situationship or friends with benefits, really take a step back and say, can I hold boundaries here? Because if you can, you're doing yourself a massive, massive favor. And you're also doing a favor to the avoidant as well, because you're sending them the message that treating you like this and stringing you along is not okay. Have respect for yourself. Stand up for your emotional needs. Hold boundaries.